From the Fox Studios in downtown Panama City, it's News View with Lee Sullivan.
Let's talk about your endangered freedoms. News and views with an attitude. Good evening, it's News View. I'm Lee Sullivan. Thank you for allowing me in. I have the opportunity to visit with Ron Hart, author, syndicated columnist, but more importantly, Fox News View contributor. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Got a lot to talk about, don't we?
Yeah, a lot happens when I leave.
Yeah, I mean, why is that?
I don't know. It's just Washington is a bunch of. They need to get a tent for all those clowns.
Yeah, really. Yeah, and some animals, and some animals. So here we are, President Obama, or Chancellor, or whatever, his healthcare summit. What's your ride on that?
Well, he wanted to lecture them. It took 7 hours of airtime for him to come in and lecture the GOP on healthcare. It makes him look like he's the authoritative figure in the situation. And 7 hours is what it took, which is also how much time it's going to take you to see a doctor if you have a car wreck in the emergency room in about 2 years. The GOP was better prepared this time than the tax summit. They had their talking points down better. They told him why it wouldn't work. He's got it in his mind it's going to work. It was like a really good special ed teacher explaining to the class why you don't steal other people's stuff. I thought Bonner did a good job. I thought McCain was good. I love this Paul Ryan. He is really good, and he is the point man for the GOP on this thing. So whatever happens.
Where did they find him? Where did they find him?
Or
did he find them?
He's a Wisconsin guy,
Right.
schooled in the libertarian thought process, young, dynamic, gets his facts right, has a business background. In fact, in my column coming up this weekend, I mentioned that I would vote for him. I think he's an up-and-comer. He and a guy named Jeff Flake from Arizona, big libertarian. Paultney, I guess, from Minnesota is pretty good as well. And I still like Mitt Romney, but I speak about that in my column this weekend.
Right. So his book makes it to the bestseller list.
Yeah, I mean, it's the way they do things. And Fox News has become like the holding room for GOP candidates. You got Palin over there, you got Huckabee sitting over there. It's like, and I'm not sure it's a good idea. That's what
I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
What is it, a graveyard for failed politicians? I mean, are they in a holding pattern at LaGuardia waiting to land? I mean, what is that? I mean, they're talking to their base. They're not expanding their base, I don't think. Right.
Maybe Palin's getting better on issues, but, every time Obama's poll ratings go down, Hillary Clinton has a coffee, lunch and learn coffee in Iowa, so she's... Hillary Clinton now has 3 years of tapes of reels of Sarah Palin and Huckabee, but mostly Sarah Palin, what she says on Fox for 3 years. She'll have it when they run for office. And
Hillary runs this time?
Well, maybe. Obama's poll numbers are low. I mean, she's certainly angling like she might, and she'll have 3 years worth of newsreels on Palin, so it'll make 2 Clintons trying to nail Palin right now.
Yeah, really. That's totally tasteless. I love it. I do love it.
Well,
Wild Bill.
My money's on Bill.
My money's on Bill, too. I mean, as his heart don't totally give out, I think he's good for another 40 or 50.
I think he's good for it. I think he's, Tiger's got some records, but I think Bill's right on his tail.
Speaking of Tiger, I mean, wonder, have you ever thought about exactly as a guy what sex rehabilitation entails?
No.
Nothing good comes to mind with me.
I think it's pretty much being a guy. He went to Mississippi, which I think has got to be painful for him to go down there for a while. Now I think he's feigning some drug rehab as well, so that he has a perpetual excuse. His apology looked like he was plugged into the wall. It was very mechanical, very slow, like he's going to the Four Corners trying to go slow to run the clock out and do his thing. Made for TV movie, and it's really hard, to go sexual rehab. It's really hard to go sexual rehab and quit sleeping with waitresses when you really don't want to.
What I'm talking about is Tiger.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Gosh. Get your mind out of the gutter. No, Tiger's he's in Augusta National's making some noise right now. They're not going to let him come down there and play. They don't want him to be a media circus around his reoccurrence in the sports field. And that's the great thing about Augusta National. It is above things in such a moral level, if they want to be, that they can tell the PGA Tour what balls and what you're going to play, and this is how it's going to be.
Right.
And Billy Payne can tell Tiger Woods, you're not coming to Augusta National this year. I mean, if it's going to be a media circus and it's going to distract from the tournament, because those people are all about golf and tradition.
Well, talking about somebody not invited to the party, the Cato Institute. You were down. You know, doing the thing that, you know, people like you have an opportunity to do. I hate you, but, you know, I mean, so CPAC, a lot of energy there?
Yeah, it was interesting to see Ron Paul won the straw poll at CPAC. Now, this is not Cato.
Does that surprise you?
Not really. I mean, I went to the GOP convention and the Democrat convention. There's one thing about the GOP convention that struck me as different that I didn't think would happen. It's a younger group of people. The Democrats have a bunch of Janet Napolitanos, a bunch of old, you know, Janet Renos, kind of Clinton appointee type of people that are old school. You'd think Democrats are young, energetic, you know, progressives, but the GOP had a ton of young people, and the young people like Ron Paul for the following reasons. He's serious about the deficit, which they will inherit, not us. You know, they will inherit the deficit. They're for minimal government, minimal intrusion. They like the notion of that. And he's a little bit hip. He's a little different. He's a little bit off the edge. So you're not being. It's not your father's Oldsmobile. You know what I'm saying? It's not the GOP.
Does the fact that he's a gynecologist help him? Do you think?
Well, he knows. He tells maybe with a rack, he'll know when to pull out. How much protection means and when to say no.
Well, I mean, that surprised me. I mean, it did.
Yeah.
I mean, but you know, the Cato Institute, they do some great stuff. Yeah. They're really some good minds in that
Very
group.
bright. Jerry Taylor, P.J. O'Rourke, who was one of my heroes, spoke there. He had a great talk. P.J.'s one of the best. Cato does terrific work that involves minimal government, minimal intrusion, how efficiently to run cities and counties, and they probably are one of the most admired, in my view, think tanks in the country.
What you spend on the nuclear waste guy, Glenn Beck?
Glenn Beck? He's a little maudlin for me. I think in general he's on the right track. I don't know if one day he won't go off the edge. Right. He strikes me as a guy who teeters on the edge. Right. The Massa interview, the congressman from New York in the shower curtain issue, that was a little weird. I don't know. I think he's sounding an alarm. But it always troubles me when you're sounding an alarm like Fox does, and of course we're on Fox right now, but the channel, you're telling people how terrible things are, and then you're promoting gold. Right. I think that's a gray area. They need to examine that situation, because it's not as dire as it. I mean, it's pretty bad, and we can correct it, but they're yelling fire in the movie theater a lot of times, and I'm a little worried about that dynamic.
When we come back, I want to talk about those pieces of crap that are serving in Congress, and particularly Massa and his would-be boyfriend, Rahm Emanuel.
Yeah, tickle me, Massa.
Yes, help me out, Tush. We'll be right back.